What was Buster's demeanor during this testimony? I know you're sitting behind him. Could you see his reactions at all, or see any type of reaction from the family?
Buster was very stoic and his face got very red, and it looked like he was hiding back emotion at the very end where they show those two pictures of Maggie with her sister and then with the boys. So just, yeah, very stoic. The whole family really just has been looking straight sometimes, you know, looking at the screen. I'm sure is super hard for all of them to hear about those final moments, at least what the phone tells.
Exactly, and it makes you wonder if the wheels are turning at all. What has Alex Murdaugh told them in the past about all of this? We just don't know the answers to those things. Let's get to another question. Bill Daly from YouTube. Did the police find any fingerprints on Maggie's phone when it was found on the side of the road? We heard some testimony about that earlier, Chad Ayers. So did they find any prints on Maggie's phone?
Honestly, I might have missed that. I don't know if they did or not. But even if they did find, you know, Alex's fingerprints on there, a defense can eat that, you know, up all day, saying, hey, it's his wife's phone. She showed him a video, a YouTube video. Look at this picture. You know, my significant other, my fingerprints would probably be on there as well. Just, you know, handling phones. Right. Hey, can you grab my phone and hand it to it? So, again, I missed that. I'm not sure if they actually found it or not.
Yeah, there weren't any prints, and they, you know, they talked a lot about how, you know, prints are fragile and things like that. Obviously, leaving prints on a phone would be pretty easy to do, but no prints. We've got about a minute left, guys, so let's get to some more questions. Sharon B. from YouTube, why no details regarding AM's phone from 8:09 to 9:02? Michael?
From 8:09 to 9:02. Well, what was he doing? Maybe he was a little busy then. It's unclear. You know, you could argue that he was either napping or you know, prepping to and then killing somebody. Yeah, the missing information doesn't help us really figure it out.
No, it doesn't. Was Maggie really working with a forensic accountant to track their money? If that is true, shouldn't the accountant have testified to show she was preparing for divorce? This is from Andy H. from YouTube. Gigi, I'll toss that one to you really quickly because we've only got about 30 seconds left here.
Yeah, no, it's something that's been floated around out there, but nothing that's been substantiated throughout the course of the trial. So either it didn't happen or they're just not going to go there. But I think if it had, we would have heard about it. So maybe just one of those rumors.
I definitely think we would have heard that forensic accountant up on the stand. I'm wondering what you thought of the testimony from Agent Radolfsky. He was able to, you know, put more information out there, kind of color the picture a little bit more for us. And then we had that kind of information toward the end about Paul alerting his father that, hey, Mom found your stash. She's pretty upset. Give me a call.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I think it definitely raised a lot of red flags in some areas, specifically after he arrives at the kennels and then less than a minute later is calling 911, which it's kind of hard to imagine him going to check on two bodies 30 yards apart and then getting back in the car and calling 911. The jury is so invested in this, leaning forward. I don't think I've seen anybody take their eyes either off the witness, the prosecutor, or the screen. I think this is kind of a really strong way to wrap this up, which is to put that timeline just in fine detail that really shows that Alec wasn't being very honest about a lot of stuff, including when did he take the ride with Paul and take a nap.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much time for nap between what we're talking about is dinner, because he said clearly that they ate dinner and he took a nap. He stayed at the house. So I'm putting all those times together and I'm like, okay, where's dinner? Because we know the coroner said, the pathologist said that Paul and Maggie ate the same food, according, you know, it looked like similar contents from what she could tell. You know, the stuff at the end, though, with the drugs, Gigi, did that strike you at all? We had already heard that Paul was referred to as the little detective because he was supposed to keep Alec in check or keep an eye on him to make sure he wasn't doing the pills. And obviously, the month before the homicides, you know, Maggie's searching for this stuff after she finds the bags of pills. She's looking into it.
Yeah, I think that was huge because it shows that Paul and Maggie both had kind of teamed up and were keeping him in check with finding drugs and his drug use. So I think that, to me, is a much better motive to put forth than just, hey, the finances were coming down, this was to buy some sympathy or time. But I thought that was really significant, but it also just adds one more proven element to the jury, which is there was so much going on for Alec, and he might have had more than one reason to kill them.
And it makes you wonder, what was anything discussed about this? Did anything come up about that evening? That's kind of what I want to know. We will never know, and that's a really sad thing. We just don't know. Let's get to some of our viewer questions now. Joy Cannabis from Twitter asks, why it take a minute from end of emergency call to phone first brother? I don't know. Chad, what's your take on that? You know, I could see maybe you're just distraught and figuring out what you got to do next.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you just witnessed or rolled up on your wife and son brutally murdered, and you hang up 911. There's going to be a time of processing, you know, an extended period of time of processing. What the heck's going on? Law enforcement's on the way, or they just arrived. But sure, there will be a time where, you know, you kind of gather yourself and realize, okay, I need to start calling family members and get someone here, you know, to help comfort me. Like Alex saying that he called his brother to come down there. And texted him, you know, it's an emergency, call me. So again, the 1 minute doesn't really bother me too much or raise any red flags to me. I think that I've said it all the time, we all process and handle stress differently. Some people freeze, some people are completely sobbing, some people are in a quietness and a shock and awe type of thing. So again, that doesn't really bother me too much.
I think the more bothersome amount of time is the fact, you know, when he arrived back at Moselle, the time from, you know, pulling up and arriving, having to go check and find. You would think you would have to actually find, there was some lights on, but you'd have to find Paul and Maggie. You'd have to figure out where they were, and then trying to check both of their pulses, trying to turn Paul over, all that stuff. So that to me is the more concerning time frame than the call between 911 and the call to Randy Murdaugh. Let's get to another question. Do Guzzler from YouTube asks, will AM have to take the stand after what was brought to light today? Michael Bryant, Alex Murdaugh is the only one that can explain some of these things, why he's at the kennels when he says he's not. Does this force his hand?
You know, every time we hear something that makes it sound worse for the defendant, you start to rethink that question. Well, you know, is it going to be better if he takes the stand and tries to explain those things? Will his attorneys, you know, try and sit on him? Obviously, the ultimate decision is Alex Murdaugh's. He wants to take the stand. He's going to take the stand. And the real question becomes, in his mind, does he have to get up there to clarify these things? Or is he so arrogant that he's like, you know, they got nothing on me. You know, I'm Teflon. Nothing sticks to me. I'm good. We just don't know. And I don't think the defense even knows what that decision is and won't until toward the end of their case.
Yeah, and you may very well be right. It could be a game time decision. I can't imagine they haven't discussed this up until this point. I would think they would have had to have said to him at some point in time, like, I mean, I can't imagine you wait till now to get him in a room and do a mock cross-examination. I would hoped you would have done that months before, but what do I know? Snow Lake Duck from Twitter asks, why take Maggie's phone and throw it but leaves Paul's? Could that be indicative of two people? Thank you. That's a great question. GiGi, I want to know what your thoughts are on that, because I was thinking that too. Like, if you did this and it's one person, you're Alec, why are you taking Maggie's phone and tossing it and not Paul's when you're saying it popped out of his pocket or whatever? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. If you take both phones, you have the possibility of making it look like a robbery.
Yeah, that's just one of those things I do not understand. And it does kind of push that second person narrative with that timeline of when, you know, he left Moselle and when the phone has that orientation change. But then we also heard that the orientation change, based on the type of software that she had or the version, movement would not have just caused that orientation change if it had been tossed. Mm-hmm. So it's very confusing, and I think a lot of people still sort of think about that two-person theory even now, even though there hasn't been anything else other than us assuming to indicate that. I do think it's a possibility, though.